Hey everybody, it's Party Leech here with another episode of Total Breakdown. This time we're going to see an Empire versus Dark Elf battle yet again, but this time they're led by Shetland Apache as Papa Smurf and Morgan Grot respectively. Shetland Apache is a Twitch streamer as well, and I'll link to his channel down below in the description, so make sure you check him out for a constant flow of Total War play and tournament action. We begin, of course, with talk of composition and deployment, and there are some very interesting picks on the battlefield today that we don't often see, I think. We have Balthazar Gelt on horseback leading the Empire, and he's brought with him a very large cavalry contingent. A pair of Outriders with grenade launchers over here, another pair of Outriders with grenade launchers over here, and then a pair of Knights of the Blazing Sun over here, and the Royal Altdorf Griffites all the way back here. Up front as well, we have these 3 units of spearmen, and back here we've got another unit of spearmen over here protecting the Hellstorm rocket battery that'll hope to do a lot of damage right from the get-go. And then we've got these 3 units of Free Company militia up front as well, squared off, keeping a distance from each other so they don't get charged down by a potential Hydra or cavalry all at the same time. Now, as these Outriders push forth, let's take a look at the Dark Elf deployment over here. They're being led by a Supreme Sorceress of Shadows, and on this right hilltop you can see an interesting contingent. We've got 3 units of Bleak Swords, we've got these Dread Spears, we've got some Dark Shards with shields, and we have a Feral Manticore up in the air. We also have a pair of Cold One Knights back here, able to push forward from either direction of this hill, from either side of this hill, I should say. And then in the center here, we have the Chill of Sontar War Hydra Regiment of Renown, alongside some Bleak Swords and the Dark Shards with shields as well. While tucked away in the trees on the left flank, from the Dark Elf perspective, we have these Dark Shards with shields, we've got some Bleak Swords, we've got some Cold One Knights, and we also have the Helleburnai over here. Now, the Hellstorm rocket battery already starts firing away, I think, at the Chill of Sontar, or perhaps at the Bleak Swords over here. And on this left flank, as seen from the Empire perspective, you can see these Outriders with their grenade launchers push forward, but as soon as they saw the Dark Shards with shields, and as soon as those Dark Shards with shields started firing away, the Outriders quite wisely decided to pull back into safety so they didn't take too much damage over there. A little bit of damage done to this right unit, but not too much, and the same thing goes down in the center over here. These Outriders with their grenade launchers push in a little too close, decide to pull back into safety as the Hellstorm rocket battery fires away into this clump over here, taking care of some of these Dark Shards. A lot of shots coming through. The whistling of those rockets is an absolutely beautiful sound, and you can see the Dark Elves push forth from the trees here and try to come in from, I think, both sides, give a fair bit of aggression as these Outriders with their grenade launchers maybe pull back a little too far, and these Knights of the Blazing Sun tuck away into these trees, hoping to get some nice side charges after the Dark Elves have committed, perhaps. You can see these Outriders with their grenade launchers push forth once more, now getting hit by Melkot's Mystifying Miasma. Some shots coming in from these Dark Shards, causing a touch of damage as they try to pull back into safety, and the rest of the Empire forces here kind of holding their ground, not really moving forward, but the Royal Altdorf Griffites as well as Balthazar Gelt decide to get involved up front, while these Spearmen stay back here to protect the Hellstorm rocket battery that continues to pummel the Dark Shards as they push down the hill over here. You can see another volley of shots coming in, doing a fair bit of damage, and of course stray shots will do some damage to the Bleak Swords nearby as well, chances are. So the Dark Elves might want to consider separating their units a little bit more, but you can see that battery coming in, doing a fair bit of hurt as these Outriders with their grenade launchers on the right flank pull back further away from that Feral Manticore, as well as the Supreme Sorcerers. The Knights of the Blazing Sun looking for an opportunity to get involved. They don't necessarily want to get tied down by these Dread Spears over here, and these Outriders with their grenade launchers pushing forth as well, hoping to provide some support. As these Dark Shards have taken a fair bit of a beating, they're going to be less efficient over time, and you can see these Bleak Swords pushing forward, maybe trying to dive into some of these Spearmen over here, ultimately deciding to hold their ground instead as these Dark Shards fire away at these spears, and you can see the Knights of the Blazing Sun pushing in for a charge right into these Dark Shards. There's a huge opening as these Bleak Swords try to push in to intercept. They're going to be far too slow. We get some shots in from these Outriders with their grenade launchers, giving us a beautiful cinematic shot here as the Knights of the Blazing Sun themselves dive in right through these Dark Shards, trying to eliminate that range support as quickly as possible. Beautifully done over there, just tossing them back up the hill from whence they came. And over here at the same time, you can see these Bleak Swords that decided not to engage against the Spearmen, getting charged down by these Knights of the Blazing Sun. Beautiful split there, sending these Knights of the Blazing Sun in 2 directions, pushing those Outriders with their grenade launchers in to provide a little bit of support, and then now pulling them away, of course, from the danger of the Dread Spears as these Knights of the Blazing Sun need to push through and go elsewhere. The Hellstorm rocket battery now firing away at this right flank instead, trying to eliminate these Dark Shards, trying to eliminate some of these Bleak Swords as well. Again, these stray shots will help. The inaccuracy here will still cause damage as the Dark Elves are still relatively clumped up over here, and you can see we do have these Cold One Knights diving in towards the Knights of the Blazing Sun, hoping to cause some damage over here as the Knights of the Blazing Sun that were earlier engaged against these Dark Shards decide to pull down south and get an interception of their own. So beautiful micromanagement over there, and you can see these Dark Shards already giving up on the fight almost. They are wavering. The Outriders with their grenade launchers pulling back into safety, getting some shots in as these Cold One Knights pour forth from these trees, and the Spearmen as well being very terrifying as they push out from the hilltop over here. You can see the Hellstorm rocket battery continues to fire away. The Helleburnai not having a good time at all, and these Outriders with their grenade launchers pushing forth in the hopes of causing some damage to this large infantry clump as the Feral Manticore decided to dive in to the Free Company militia over here. Got a fair bit of damage done, but now that it's rampaging, we do have the spearmen diving in, poking and prodding away at the Feral Manticore. Of course, it is a large beast, and the spearmen are, of course, anti-large, so that Manticore is not going to have the best time. As you can see, shots from the Hellstorm rocket battery continue to pour in and cause some damage. I think still focusing in on these Dark Shards, but you can see the inaccuracy here really spreading that love over there, while we get a volley of grenades from the Outriders with their grenade launchers, again working away, I think, at these Hellebroni over here, trying to eliminate this anti-large Regiment of Renown unit that does have poison in its melee attack. Silver shields as well, but those shields I don't think do anything against the grenades that explode at their feet. And you can see already we have these Dark Shards wavering, while on the left flank over here we have a nice use of Melkot's Mystifying Miasma, trying to slow down some of these Royal Altar of Griffiths, trying to pin them in place. And at the same time we have the Final Transmutation upgraded spell coming in as well from Balthasar Gelt, trying to cause some damage of his own. We have the Chill of Sontar diving in there, trying to provide some support in this crucial left flank engagement over here, as these Free Company militia trying to get some shots in as well. They are relatively protected, but you can see we have these Cold One Knights coming in from the rear, chasing down these Knights of the Blazing Sun, already getting them to rout, as the Supreme Sorceress as well, looking for an opportunity to get involved. We have the Free Company militia over here firing away as well, trying to get some support in, while the Feral Manticore decides to dive rampage into the Free Company militia. Still, the Free Company militia did not get far enough away, while you can see these Dark Shards now firing away into the central clump, but the Cold One Knights giving up on the fight. We also have the Bleak Swords here giving up on the fight. These Cold One Knights as well, terrified, trying to leave as the Royal Altar of Griffites bring in that fear and terror, but they do get hit by the enfeebling foe, reducing their capabilities in melee rather significantly as these Dread Spears continue to poke and prod away as the Royal Altar of Griffites and the Knights of the Blazing Sun over here. But you can see, perhaps more importantly, we have these Dark Shards firing away at the Outriders with grenade launchers, again trying to eliminate that unit, while the Cold One Knights over here get hit by the Plague of Rust, reducing their armor significantly, trying to get these Spearmen to close the gap in on them. And I think the Free Company militia here as well not having a good time, as the Supreme Sorceress continues to get a fair bit of damage in there. But back here you can see the Spearmen now decide to push forth and away from the Hellstorm rocket battery. They need to be used up front. I think they feel the pressure a little bit, so they abandon the Hellstorm rocket battery that's turning around to try and get some shots in elsewhere. And you can see we actually have these Cold One Knights getting tied down by the Knights of the Blazing Sun. They were pushing in towards the Hellstorm rocket battery, but they get tied down, and now we have these spears coming in from both sides, trying to sandwich the Cold One Knights over here and eliminate that very threatening cavalry unit. In the center here, you can see the Chill of Sontar not having a good time. The Free Company militia over here firing away, trying to get some damage done to the very threatening large unit. Of course, armor-piercing damage it can do, so it's a very scary unit, the Chill of Sontar. We have the Hellstorm rocket battery still firing away, and take a look at this massive mistake from the Dark Elves over here, leaving that Feral Manticore up in the air, just sitting there, looking pretty. That Feral Manticore has been waiting there for a handful of seconds. Over here, we have the Hellstorm rocket battery completely open, not protected in any way outside of the Free Company militia that won't do all that well in melee either. And so a lot of time being wasted there, as we did get a beautiful penumbral pendulum just striking down the Free Company militia here. You can see the amount of damage being done. Their health was brought right down to about 25% with the use of just one penumbral pendulum. And we have these Bleak Swords chasing after them as well. They are wavering. They might just give up on the fight, and that does give the Chill of Sontar here the upper hand, surviving now as the Hellstorm rocket battery continues to fire away at the central clump. You can see these Dark Shards continue to fire away as well. The Knights of the Blazing Sun chase away these Dark Shards, while these Dark Shards as well have rallied and are now willing to fire away once more. Finally, the Feral Manticore does get activated, and rather than chase after the Hellstorm rocket battery over here, decides to chase after the Free Company militia. Not a terrible call, at least it's doing something. The Free Company militia was chipping away at the Feral Manticore's health. Meanwhile, over here you can see the Bleak Swords do get caught down by these two units of Spearmen, hoping to eliminate the Bleak Swords over here, while the central clump over here is, well, everybody's losing. Nobody's really winning over here. You can see we've got some Bleak Swords giving up on the fight. The Royal Altar of Griffites barely getting out of there with a sliver of health. Of course, we have the Outriders with their grenade launchers, some of them being terrified, some of them pulling away and still caught up in melee. We have these Outriders with their grenade launchers pulling back, firing away at some of these Cold One Knights as well, who have taken a severe beating. We have these Dark Shards still on the route here, these Bleak Swords as well, still routing these Spearmen here. Not really in an ideal situation against the Chill of Sontar, but they are anti-large, so trying to cause a bit of damage, while the Hellstorm rocket battery continues to fire away and cause a fair bit of damage to this clump of Dread Spears and Bleak Swords back there. You can see these Outriders routing, giving up on the fight. These Outriders as well giving up on the fight, now surrounded by these Cold One Knights, not really willing to stick in melee, of course, pulling back into safety, while these Outriders with their grenade launchers looking for an opportunity to get involved. And the Hellstorm rocket battery, you see, turns around and starts firing away at the Dark Shards over here once more. Again, not very accurate, but since that unit now is all on its lonesome, they're not as effective as they were before. You can see under fire from all of that artillery support, the Dark Shards are willing to maybe give up on the fight, but it needs a good hit. A good shot will do a lot of work there. While over here you can see these Outriders with grenade launchers trying to provide some support to these Spearmen, scaring these Bleak Swords off as the Chill of Sontar turns around and I think tries to get away from all of these Spearmen. Over here as well you can see these Cold One Knights giving up on the fight, Plague of Rust coming in to eliminate some of their armor here, allowing these Spearmen to come out on top, and you can see these Dark Shards now slowly being made to waver while the Empire is coming out on top on that right flank against the Hell of Brunei. A beautiful charge from the Knights of the Blazing Sun, getting these guys to rout, while over here we have the Outriders with their grenade launchers actually pushing in to melee, I think, in the hopes of turning some of these routes into shatters. Good call over there. These grenade launchers do still have some ammunition, but if you can push into melee on a routing unit to scare them off more permanently, it's not a bad call at all. Meanwhile, you can see the Feral Manticore here has rallied, but hasn't done anything for the last little while. Needs to push in with some aggression over here, needs to shut something down. You can see the Helmstorm rocket battery alongside the Knights of the Blazing Sun trying to shut down these Dark Shards. We do have some of these Bleak Swords turning around to maybe close the gap over here, but those Dark Shards are made to rout. We have the Chill of Sontar trying to close the gap as well to these Knights of the Blazing Sun in the hopes of eliminating that unit once and for all. And you can see the grenade launchers have done a good job, or I should say the Outriders here have done a good job getting some of these units to sort of give up, move far off, and then they've turned around and pushed into some of these Dark Shards on the right flank. You can see some more shatters coming in from the Dark Elves, but the balance of power is still relatively even. You can see the Hellstorm rocket battery here has done a lot of work. They've got 81 kills to their name already. They're completely undisturbed. They have basically stayed at more or less full health over here, and they're just looking for an opportunity to get involved elsewhere. While you can see the Chill of Sontar now shutting down the Free Company Militia over here, and the Free Company Militia need to pull back into safety as that Chill of Sontar is being shot down by this unit of Free Company Militia. So good job over there, sort of pull back and fire. We have the Supreme Sorceress, though, diving in over here, hitting these guys with Melkot's Mystifying Miasma, causing some damage, reducing their speed as well, allowing the Chill of Sontar to, chase after them and cause a fair bit of damage. Caught right now in the middle of a rather epic animation, though, so that Melkot's Mystifying Miasma is slowing the Free Company Militia down, but they would still actually be able to get away right now, but it's not easy to pay attention to animations, obviously. But at the same time, we have the Feral Manticore over here chasing after the Knights of the Blazing Sun, who have been made to rout. Well, over here you can see these Bleak Swords have completely shattered. They're giving up on the fight. We've got a lot of these Dark Shards giving up on the fight as well. The infantry contingent has largely been taken care of, and you can see the Chill of Sontar here getting these Free Company Militia to leave the field out of terror, and we have the Feral Manticore again still just staying on top of those Knights of the Blazing Sun. The Chill of Sontar here, meanwhile, trying to close the gap to the Free Company Militia over here, doing so rather easily. Terror kicking in once again. These guys are now routing once more, but we do have these Spearmen leading up the rear, trying to get a charge into the Chill of Sontar. A lot of damage still to be done. That Chill of Sontar is only at 50% health, but with just some mere Spearmen, that might take a lot of time to whittle down. Back here, you can see these Outriders with their grenade launchers looking for an opportunity to get involved somewhere, while off in the distance, a lot of these Dark Elf units continue to rout. Nobody is rallying just yet. We do have the Feral Manticore now getting involved over here, looking for an opportunity to get into something, while the Chill of Sontar finally trying to take matters into its own hands, perhaps diving into the Hellstorm rocket battery. These guys standing steady as the Chill of Sontar dives in, gets a fair bit of damage done. The Feral Manticore up in the air nearby as well, opting to chase after Balthasar Gelt instead, trying to eliminate Empire leadership over here. While you can see we have these Outriders with their grenade launchers firing their grenades at the Chill of Sontar, again just trying to get a little bit of damage done as these Spearmen continue to give chase. So a fair bit of hurt actually happening there from the grenades, from the safety of the grenade launcher distance there. Not a bad call at all. There's really nothing else to fire at. As you can see, the Dark Elves largely have given up on the fight. No one else is going to be returning. We do have the Feral Manticore again looking for somewhere to get involved, while the Supreme Sorceress over here, I think, just trying to whittle down the Free Company Militia over here, again just working on whatever units it can, while you can see the Chill of Sontar turns around and uses its breath attack to try and eliminate these very threatening Spearmen. Again, they are anti-large, so if they can be eliminated, that'll give the Feral Manticore and the Chill of Sontar bit of free reign on the battlefield today right now. So the Feral Manticore again, hovering about, looking for a place to get involved, while the Chill of Sontar here pushes in for a charge, decides to completely obliterate these two lines of Spearmen here. Great job there, charging in after getting that breath attack in there, making sure these guys have already lost a lot of health from that, making it a lot easier for Terror to kick in, and perhaps some routes, and maybe even some shatters. So good calls over there, and you can see we get exactly that. We've got some routes going down. The Chill of Sontar here able to push in through this other unit of Spearmen as well, perhaps able to just dive through the unbraced spears there and chase after some of these other units, again diving into the Hellstorm rocket battery there. Good call. Now finally perhaps eliminating it. They do get terrified off, while the Feral Manticore again looking for an opportunity to get involved somewhere, but maybe not sure exactly where to dive in. Maybe chase down some of these spears, maybe get them to rout and shatter. And you can see over here, we have a rather nearly full health unit of Spearmen at 3/4 health, charging in towards the Chill of Sontar once more. We do have these Outriders with their grenade launchers able to fire their grenades again into that Chill of Sontar and get a fair bit of damage over here. We have these Spearmen once more being charged and tossed around. That's not going to do the Spearmen any good, of course. They need to maybe try and keep their distance, or again, try and come in from multiple sides at the same time to pin this Chill of Sontar in place. And you can see we've got these Outriders with their grenade launchers, pulling back into safety as these spears come around and start poking and prodding away at the Chilosontar. Morale is dropping ever so slightly, dropped by about 25% when that surround happened, but of course this monster does not care. It's able to just pull away and pull at something. The Feral Manticore at the same time needs to get involved, needs to dive in somewhere, maybe get a nice rear charge into some of these spears, but again, that's very dangerous. If it gets tied down, that Feral Manticore will give up right away, so instead it opts in to chase after some of these Hellstorm Rocket Battery crew members, try to get those guys to rout, I think, or rather to get them to shatter, I think, while the Chilosontar continues to maintain somewhat of a distance from these spearmen. They continue to try and poke and prod, but you can see off in the distance on this hilltop over here, we do have a couple more Empire units here. I think maybe waiting for the Supreme Sorceress to return to the fray so they can intercept her before she's able to get involved over here and provide support. You can see, though, the balance of power is still very much right down the middle, even though it's 3 versus 242. And you can see these spears and Balthazar Gelthenal sort of reforming, I think, a little bit, trying to gauge the enemy and see what the best way of getting in might be. And you can see over here we actually have the Chilosontar just driving through the side of the Spearmen, so that's one way to get into the enemy. We've got the Spearmen now just surrounding the Chilosontar, again reducing his morale by about 25%, down to about almost 50% over here, but of course that War Hydra is able to just waltz right through all of these spears, does not quite care. We have all these Outriders with their grenade launchers diving in as well, perhaps into melee. We have the Free Company Militia pulling away, trying to get some distance over here, able to turn around and fire shots at the Chilosontar, and the Feral Manticore once more up in the air here, just circling about, not really able to get involved, trying to intercept these Hellstorm Rocket Battery crew members as they're trying to return to their equipment. Good job over there spotting that and eliminating that Hellstorm Rocket Battery crew more or less instantaneously, but you can see over here the War Hydra not having a good time. The Free Company Militia do get hit by Melkot's Mystifying Miasma, sort of forcing them to stay in place here, and we get another use of the beautiful Penumbral Pendulum driving right through the Free Company Militia, as well as these Spearmen and this other unit of Spearmen as well, causing a lot of damage, hoping to free up the Chilosontar, giving it some space to move around and move away from all of these anti-large spears. Unfortunately, it is just not enough. These guys don't start to give up just yet, but of course the War Hydra is able to waltz right through, goes right into the Outriders with grenade launchers over here, gets one of them to waver. They might actually rout over here. Terror kicks in, of course, and so that Terror does turn into a rout and completely shattered over here. These Outriders with their grenade launchers. The other unit is able to get away, and you can see over here the Supreme Sorceress does get hit by, in just a moment's time, the final transmutation spell there from Balthazar Gelt, so causing a touch of damage over there, hoping to take care of enemy leadership. As you can see, the War Hydra over here is starting to reduce its leadership a little bit. It's dropping to about 25 to 50% depending on the situation, but you can see the Spearmen over here get hit by the enfeebling foe, reducing their melee attack to 0 and their melee defense to 8, while the Feral Manticore over here chasing down some of these Free Company Militia units over here, again just shutting them down, picking off units. Great use of the Feral Manticore right now, going around, finding weakened units, isolated units, and shutting them down once and for all. And you can see Balthazar Gelt over here trying to pull back to provide some support, some leadership buffs over here, I think, and also maybe get a charge into the Chilosontar. Ultimately decides not to, because the Chilosontar decides to turn around and chase after Balthazar Gelt now, again try to reduce Empire leadership over here, and again still right down the middle. The balance of power over here, 2 versus 133. The Feral Manticore needs to get a nice dive in somewhere, maybe into the isolated Spearmen over here, take a bit of a risk here perhaps. The Chilosontar continues to chase after Balthazar Gelt. The Outriders here get some shots in with their grenade launchers. You can see the Chilosontar very low on morale right now, 25% left, health is at about 50%, turns around. Balthazar Gelt gets a charge in there. The War Hydra gets a charge of his own as well, but now surrounded by spears once more, and you can see Plague of Rust gets in there, dropping armor to just 20. Great job over there. The spears are poking and prodding. Balthazar Gelt giving chase as well. Morale is dropping once more to about 25%. Another charge here will recover some of that morale, but you can see some grenades coming in from these grenade launchers of these Outriders as they dive in, but another charge from the Chilosontar. They're doing a lot of damage, but unfortunately, it's not enough. And a Pyrrhic victory for the Empire. Some very interesting picks in this battle led to a very close result at the end, and the result may actually have been determined by the few minutes of inactivity from the Feral Manticore when the rocket battery was firing away while unattended. 95 kills on that artillery piece was a huge game changer, wiping out a lot of Dark Elf ranged and melee support before lines could meet, and then working away at the Chilosontar to chip away at its health for later. Had the rocket battery been taken out early, the damage output to morale and health by the Dark Elves may have been just enough to tip the balance in their favor. Overall, a great battle from both sides of the battlefield, some interesting picks, some great micromanagement as we're used to seeing from both of these commanders. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to highlight such amazing battles from the community. I'd also like to thank all of my patrons for supporting the channel on a month-to-month basis, making a huge difference keeping it alive and running smoothly. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you on the battlefield.